Mic test 1 2. Mic test 1 2. Give me just a second, everybody. I'm getting all this situated. Can I speak to your manager? Give me just a second here. Just a second. All right, what's up, everybody? You're going to have to forgive me. I'm not going to be able to have my normal background back here that I normally do, so we're just going to live with it. I hope everybody's doing well today. Welcome aboard! What is this? Gravy, you were asking what I was doing for music, and I have a subscription to the service called Soundstripe, and I'm just playing their new songs right now off of it. I've got new streaming software, so bear with me while I figure all this out. I'm learning it as I go. I don't have everything on my screen that I had the other day when I was testing this, so that's a little annoying. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, the way this works is this is a question and answer format, meaning you ask questions, I will do my best to provide answers. Understand, I am human, I am fallible, I am prone to making mistakes. Just understand, it is a very real possibility that I may screw something up. That being said, my background is turfgrass management, specifically lawn care more than anything, and so that's what I feel most comfortable talking about. That's not to say that we can't get into any and other things, but where I do feel most comfortable is talking about turfgrass. If there are other things you would like to talk about, say for instance some ornamentals, then yeah, I can dab a little bit in that. If there are some other things you want to talk about, say, oh, I don't know, I just pick your poison. Some flowers you want to talk to, whatever the case may be. Maybe even some what is this, public access? Yeah, this is. Just feel free, put your question in the chat. I promise I'll get to it. Understand, when I'm answering these questions, I take them first come, first serve. So I'm going to start at the beginning of the chat and scroll down. Understand, one, I'm on about a 30-second delay. So when you are hearing me speak, that was what I said 30 seconds ago. So there is a delay. Then on the flip side of that, too, is it takes me a minute. So while I'm working from top to bottom, it's going to take me a hair to get to the question at the bottom of the chat. So all of that to say, I feel like, I'm not sure, but I'm fairly certain we're going to be pretty close to where we need to be. All right. So now that we got all the disclaimers out of the way, feel free. Go ahead and start filling your questions into the chat box, and I will get them. Couple of announcements. For the professional side of things, you're going to see a product out called Balance, Baxance. I talked to Ben. That's funny. And when you're describing the L in it, it's kind of like two L's turned sideways, and that's where the idea for the X came from. Plus, when you're looking at the rest of our fertilizer line, you're going to see there are lots of X's involved in our fertilizer line. So that's just kind of the way it goes. And it being a 1648 also has a micronutrient load. Couple of different things we did on the back end of that when we were making it, and to be honest, it's a couple different changes we're making to the X soil product. It's nothing you will notice, but it's something we notice. And the other thing you should notice about it is an even bigger performance increase. So it's kind of a win all ways around. And I mean, it's listen. I am 100% never satisfied with anything we do. It is always going to be a continual case of building upon what you already know, what you've already learned. It's just the nature of it. Everybody is a professional out there in their career. I try to be a professional in my career. It's kind of the same thing. So Balance is a new product, Bal-X or balls, whatever you want to call it, on the what do you call it? On the DIY market. So there we go. The other thing, too, with the 1648, we are unleashing, and there's going to be a big release tomorrow on the Xenar technology, and we're going to be releasing a lot of trial data and all kinds of stuff. So it's going to come in the form of an email. If you want to subscribe to our emails, I just threw a list in the chat right there. You can go to it. It's at our Facebook page. You can sign up right there, and you will be added to the list. This email blast is going out. So if you want to be a part of it, if you want to see the latest trial information we've done, you will be able to have first serves on it there. So feel free, if it's your thing, by all means. You don't have to. Understand, it's designed purely to communicate with our customer base. If you do not want to be communicated with, do not sign up on that email list. Just saying. That is exactly what that is for, is to receive emails from us. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay. I think that is all I had to cover as far as housekeeping up to this point. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see. There was a question here that I promise I saw on the front end, but I wasn't quite sure. I'm looking back. What is this? Man, maybe not. Okay, all right, let's see. I will start here. This is the first question I saw. Best time and use for the new 1648 product. What are you doing, Cade? Unnecessary, sir. By the way, some people got mad at me for using the sound effects, so I want to go ahead and make that statement. I apologize for using the sound effects. It just is what it is, okay? I enjoy it, so I'm going to do it. How about that? You should also hear someone come on and say, hell yeah, when they do it. And again, part of the new streaming software, I apologize. I'm trying to figure all this out. So when is the best time and use to do it? Okay, so here's the thing. Oh, Aldo Beltran, necessary, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you. Really, the best time is when the turf is actively growing. If the turf is not actively growing, then it's not a good time to use that product. And as far as the use for it, as just a nice general all-around product. It's so real simple, easy to use. It's kind of a set it and forget it kind of deal. I'll give you an example, right? It is not, if you have adequate potassium, if you have adequate phosphorus, and you do not want to increase your rate of phosphorus, you do not want to increase your potassium levels, then it is a perfect product for you. It is not going to decrease phosphorus. It is not going to decrease potassium. It's going to stay level. So if you've got your levels and you want to maintain your levels, there you go. It is not something designed to correct anything. It's designed to keep things in balance once they're already achieved. So I hope that makes sense. Again, it's a granular fertilizer, so you'd apply it like any other product. When is the best time to apply it? When the turf is actively growing. So that's it. That's what you got, man. That's what you do. Hey, dog, what are you doing? What is going on in here tonight? How? Hot. I love Ben said he spilled some MFT on his shorts and he's living large and laughing easy. That is hilarious. Kenny! What are you doing? Big happy birthday shout out to Lucy. Big happy 3. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I know what it's like to have a 3-year-old at the house. Mine finally reached 4, and boy, that is a big difference from 3. So, Kenny, you're almost out of it, sir. But I promise you, it only gets girlier from here. There's lots of Elsa and others, A for Adley, going on in my house right now. So, bless your heart, buddy. I get it. Happy birthday, Lucy. Happy birthday. All right. Target growing degree days. Let's see here. Target growing degree days for re-app on Fine fescue, half ounce per M on 7.7, just hit 225 growing degrees today. 325 reasonable. I think 325 is too long. I would make my reapplication at 225 and call it good. I don't really see any need or necessity to extend that out to 325. The only thing you're doing is pushing closer to that rebound rate on your growth regulator. So if it were me, you just put down a half ounce, you're at 225, go ahead, hit it again. Call it good. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. I don't think you're going to cause any problems with it. Cool season grasses are going to be more tolerant of the growth regulator. So I think you are all good to go. Just take it, get it down, run with it, and you'll be all right. Josh Baker says, if using carbon earth fertilizers 5 to 6 times a year, what's the limit to how much subvert depth 10 or MFT to put down in conjunction? Don't want to overdo the peptides, turf type to fescue in transition zone. Your limit is going to be somewhere around 2 gallons per acre per season, using it in combination with the carbon earth fertilizer. So, and that would be either one of those. Now, there is a buffer in there, Josh. I will tell you that right now. We put an intentional buffer in there, and everything to the label. If you follow the label, there's no way you're going to cause any problems. By a degree of over 100% is what we buffer that in there for, because of that potential. I don't want anybody to do that. I don't want anybody to come to me and say, I killed my grass with it. If you did, again, it all comes down to the label. If you follow the instructions in the label, you're going to be good to go. You will not have any sort of bizarre over-application issue. So, yeah. There you go. That's kind of the deal. Even if you ran, and I'm talking about single-use max rate there, Josh, because there's a total difference there, and this is what we're kind of seeing more with now that we're putting it out on more turf in more controlled environments than previously, when it was all on the majority of it was on hemp and some durum, some wheat, sugar beets, all those kinds of things. Those are annuals, right? So you get one growing season out of them. So as you apply the material, it accumulates. With turf, you're constantly growing it out and then mowing it, growing it out, mowing it, growing it out. And so it's a little bit different, and it's harder to over apply it. So just be careful in your single use max rate. Stay within the limits of the label, and you will be good to go. Mike said, I want to install an in-ground sprinkler on city water. I have 38 PSI and 6 gallons per minute. I'm looking for a booster pump. Any recommendations? No, I do not have one, because number one, I have not done a lot of residential installs that have not had adequate pressure. Around here where I'm at in Knoxville, typically we're dealing with high pressure. Now, I will say this. If you have low pressure, probably what I would look at would be the NPR rotors. They're going to help you in instances where you do have low pressure to be able to get decent coverage out of it. So I would look at the NPR heads. That's really the only thing I got for you on that. Someone else who is an expert here may be able to help you on the irrigation thing. That's not my thing. Polo Field says, if high P can lock up nutrients, what can you do to lower it? Easy. One, you want to make sure you're not applying phosphorus to begin with. Second of all, your nitrogen will dictate your phosphorus removal rate from the soil. Third, you want to collect your clippings, because the phosphorus is being removed through the leaf blades. So as you apply your nitrogen, you're triggering the plant to take up more phosphorus. You are collecting those clippings and discarding them. You're moving your phosphorus from out of your soil off to an off-target place. It's called nutrient removal. It's real big in agriculture. Nutrient removal in agriculture, where you can take a soil sample and you can get an idea that if you apply a certain amount of nitrogen, exactly how much yield you will get out of it, or a good estimate of what your yield would be given a rough season type deal there. Marco Cantola says, I can't get rid of funguses in my lawn. I try everything, every single thing. Nothing seems to work on. Apply once a week, alternate. Marco, I don't know what diseases you have, and there could be a variety of things. And the thing is that, number one, you have to correctly identify which disease you're going after so you can make the determination of which fungicide you need to be applying. Here's the thing. If you've got dollar spot and you're applying azoxystrobin, you're making your dollar spot worse. If you've got Pythium and you're applying propiconazole, you're not doing anything for it. If you've got leaf spot and you're applying propiconazole, you're probably not doing anything for it. So there's a wide variety of different things that could be causing this, and the incorrect diagnosis is leading to an increase in issues as far as what you're seeing out there. So I would highly recommend sending it off to a local extension service, have them give you an appropriate determination, then choose which fungicide to apply. Let's see. Whoa, we jumped down. Man, the chat is on fire tonight. What is up? Everybody's excited. That's what I'm talking about. Where am I? OSU come in here. It said lawn service, Polo Fields, remove clippings. There you go. Are the root promoting peptides effective at all times of the season, or are they much more effective in the fall when the roots are already growing more? Actually, so when you're going to get your biggest return on investment is going to be when your roots are shrinking. So that naturally happens at a few points in the year, right? So when you move into drought periods or into periods of high heat or periods of off season for the grass you're growing, so we'll say summer and cool season grass, that would be a great time to apply it because you're stimulating root development to be able to find things like water. Normally, when faced with that level of heat, what happens is your root system shrinks closer to the surface. It's kind of a freak out and oh crap response where, it's preservation of the crown at all costs, right? And so by losing the depth of your root there, one, you're losing access to nutrients. Two, you're losing access to water. So it becomes more difficult to maintain or sustain the plant at that time. Therefore, that would be a great time to use it to try and push some of that extra energy into maintaining the depth of your roots to keep them in cooler soil to preserve the plant. The second time would be in off season, right? So in cool season grass, your off season, normally you're too cool to really have to worry about anything. But in warm season grass, so we're talking about leading up to the 4th of July and then after, say, like August or so. Those two periods would be great times because, again, naturally, that's when the root system is going to be shrinking, right? So it's going to shrink pretty close into March and then start moving deeper as you move into July and then begin shrinking from July onward. So you want to target in those time frames. So simply put, yes, technically they are effective at all times of the season. When you're going to see your biggest ROI on it is when the plant is actually going through a root sloughing cycle. Doc Matt says, what's up, man? Your recommended treatment for Bermuda mites, southern portion of transition zone, full sun during the day on well-established turf. Man, Doc, dude, this is where it gets difficult. So, personally, what I would try and run, oh, no, that is off-label. Never mind. I had a recommendation there that was probably not the right recommendation to go with. What I would probably recommend is using some sort of combination. I would stay away from bifenthrin. I don't think it's going to do anything for you. I would look for a true miticide, and specifically one that works on aphid mites and see how that runs for you. I may even tiptoe dance around with something like permethrin and see how that ends up working for you. Permethrin can be a little tricky. The other one I was going to say is acephate, but I do not think you can broadcast lawns with acephate. Orthene is another name for it, so you may want to check the label. You may be able to. Back in the day, I feel like I could because I know I've done it, but I may have been doing it off label as well. So, and I do not recommend that by any means. Ty then says, South Texas, St. Augustine, ton of weeds, all types, but mainly Dallas and goosegrass. When and how to treat? Well, here's the tricky situation you're in, is that you've got St. Augustine and you're trying to control those weeds. You are pretty much out of luck, good sir. you are pretty much out of luck. I don't really, what I would probably do is spot apply glyphosate and plan on resodding into those areas. And if you've got bad enough goosegrass in it, there's some things you can do. And again, this may be off label. Low rates of Pilex would probably be a good one for you. I can't remember if St. Augustine is on the label for Acclaim. Acclaim may be a good product. No, not Acclaim. Acclaim may work for you. But like Revolver is going to be off for you. So really the best bet for you is going to be Pilex. But again, check the label and make sure St. Augustine is on the label for Pilex. Dangelon says, I'd like to hear you talk about Blue Muta. Did you catch the UT webinar? Seems to be gaining a lot of momentum lately. I mean, there's not really anything I can say about it that anybody else hasn't said anything about it. I don't grow it. I've never maintained it, so it's going to be hard for me to have an opinion on it. But it's basically the same premise as using perennial ryegrass as fall cover and year-round color for the turf. Because you have to remember, Blue Muta and the whole idea of using it in sports turf is to maintain the integrity of the playing surface. When we're talking about it from a home lawn perspective, again, same thing in an effort to maintain year-round color, right? Then on the second piece of that is, remember, ryegrass is allelopathic, meaning it emits toxins through its root system, through its plant tissue, in an attempt to suppress the plants around it, so that way it has access to the water and nutrients as a method of survival. Bluegrass is not known for being allelopathic like ryegrass is. Therefore, chances are you would likely have a better homogeneous integrated turf system using bluegrass in combination with Bermuda grass than you would with perennial ryegrass and Bermuda grass. Matt says, I plan on dropping down my height a cut, but my lawn seems to already be stressed. Bermuda, should I hold off or go straight to scalping? I also saw Pete with GCIs doing Carbonex with any issues. He's doing a grow-in, Matt G, so there's no real reason for you to be doing that on a weekly basis unless you too are working on a grow-in. Then the second piece of this is if you are already drought-stressed, then I would not be scalping anything unless you have the water to bring it back. Because you can scalp it all you want, but you have to get it to come back. And how do you get it to come back? Well, you're going to have to do it with water. So if you do not have the means to get the water out to get it to come back, then I wouldn't be scalping. Is there a way to sign up for the emails if we don't have Facebook? Yes, I am sure there is. Hang on, let me see here. Let me see. Create a sign up form. Save your form. Go to step 2. Go to step 3. I'm going to do this. Okay, here you go. Non-Facebook sign up form. There you go. You should be good to go with that link right there. Okay. Let me sneak in over here. I was somewhere. Let me find myself. Hi, Matt. Any issue using Depth Kick and other Subvert products as soil apps? No, it's intended to be done so that way. Is there, let's see, what's your take in regards to rubber mulch? Can you still feed the soil nutrition a humic and liquid aerator? No, I don't know why. If you're doing rubber mulch, you're sacrificing your soil. How about that? You can put all the NPK and humic and liquid aerator down you want, but remember what is that really doing when you've got a covering of rubber mulch? Nothing. You're still gassing off your soil at a very high rate there, and you've got really nothing to protect it. So. No, it's silly to even do that, to be honest. Brett Sucks says, I got some humic acid and some iron, but my question is, I got some new trousers and Yes, sir. All right. Soil analysis shows NPK is equally deficient. JP reviewed my soil analysis and recommends a triple 15. Difficult to find a triple balanced fert. Why is that? Any recommendations? I don't know why it's difficult to find, but if you are equally deficient in P and K, you can do it in a single application with the triple 15, or you can do it in 2 applications where you can apply something like X-Start and then you can apply something like Stress X, and you're getting both of those solved in a single application. So in individual applications, sorry, not a single application, you're doing it in 2 applications. So just a way to go about it and correct both of those. It'll take you 2 applications instead of 1, but it is a way to do it. Ryan Schultz says, use the sound effects. If they don't like it, they can go pan for go. Robert Butler says, Matt, poetry thriving and spreading like an angry person. Not supposed to be, but this stuff is out of control. Can't keep roundupping and reseeding. Is there anything in the universe that can help yet? No. No, there's really not. And it may be, and still, even when you're dealing with poetry, just understand that even your glyphosate applications, there's timing for it. I did a video on POA where I kind of go over the ins and outs of poetry and glyphosate and the response to glyphosate. Just understand it's not a perfect 1 year type of program. It's something you're going to have to repeat for multiple years in a row in order to get 100% control. Best case scenario, you're only going to get 60% control with perfect timing. So you're kind of in the dark there. T-Dot says, I sprayed Tenacity and Sedgehammer together. I love people calling it Sledgehammer. Sedgehammer together on some nutsedge patches in the backyard. It's been about 2.5 weeks. I'm getting yellowing, but not dead yet. Do I need to apply a second application in both? No. Sedgehammer is slow, so I wouldn't worry about it at all. Just let it do its thing and finally die. It certainly will. If you mow it and it continues to grow upward really quickly, then you need to make a reapplication. But as long as it's not growing upward very quickly post-application, then that tells you it's working and you're good to go. Polo Field says, when using Turflon ester to kill violets and suppress Bermuda, should I wait a couple weeks before reseeding when it's time to overseed? Yes, you're going to see a reseed interval on the label. Follow that reseed interval. Otherwise, it will affect the germination and establishment period of the seed you should choose to overseed with. Let's see here. Howdy from Texas. Do you have much experience real mowing with St. Augustine? This push mower is rough if I'm not cutting every 2 to 3 days. Unfortunately, no, I have never done that, so I really have no recommendation for you on how to how to real mow it, buddy. You're above my pay grade and level of understanding. Bermuda Brian says, scalp level and 818. If I could take height of cut down and throw 818, could I leave the yard at scalp level for green up, or do I have to bring the mower up a notch for green up? Bermuda in North Georgia. Well, here's the thing. It all depends on what cultivar Bermuda you have. If you've got Tiff Eagle, that's a dwarf variety, then you can leave it at scalp height and be fine with it. If you've got maybe even Yukon, I've seen Telly Coleman maintain his Yukon all the way down to like 0.15, I think, is where he got it to. So it's possible for you to be able to get it there. The reality of the situation, it comes down to the cultivar you have. If you don't have it, you just gradually bring it up and see where you can begin to maintain that color. But understand, the lower height of cut you have, the harder it's going to be to have color in that green, because you're at a green's height. It's going to be hold green in that turf because you're at green's height. Sorry, speaking crazy. Polo Field says, my pH is 6.5. My local extension office said it needs to actually be a 7 or 7.2 for my grass type. I thought 7 would be too alkaline. Any thoughts? At 6.5, I'm not worrying about manipulating the pH any direction. I sure as hell don't want my pH at a 7 or a 7.2 for turf type, tall fescue, or bluegrass, especially in damn Kentucky. It drives me crazy. Never mind. I digress. That's one of those things that just really yanks my chain. A 6.5 is good. Don't worry about it. You're great. Wise Guy says, what's the difference between sulfate of potash and muriate of potash? Georgia, Alabama. Thanks in advance. So sulfate of potash is a low salt index product. One, you're getting sulfate with it. Two, you're getting potassium. Muriate of potash is a very high salt index product that is potassium chloride. So you're getting chloride, and nobody knows to what extent chloride is used in the plant. Eventually, at some point, it is. But for the most part, you're really just applying a very salty form of chlorine to the ground. And all said and done, you're applying just a very salty potash source to the ground. So in my opinion, in my experience, I've always felt like turf performs better when I'm keeping it off of muriate of potash. Again, just my experience. People have different experiences and therefore have come up with different conclusions. For instance, where that really began to shine for me, wise guy, is when I maintained centipede grass in combination with Bermuda and Zoysia and St. Augustine. What I noticed was that the less muriate of potash I applied to St. Augustine and centipede, the better the turf ended up performing. So that was where I began to make my shift over to sulfate of potash. Now you may be thinking sulfate of potash, it contains sulfur, therefore it must lower the soil pH. Negative. It contains sulfate. Sulfate, SO4, is pH neutral and is taken up into the plant as sulfate. So it is a viable nutrient. Typically, it coincides with increased levels of iron in the tissue levels of the plant, whereas muriate of potash can ultimately dehydrate the fire out of your plant very easily. So especially if you're applying urea is going to be a high salt index product. You're just throwing gasoline on an already hot fire by using muriate of potash in combination with it. You have a suggestion for a good SOP product for K deficiency? Well, yes, of course I do. I have a product called Stress X that would be perfect for you. Advice for new sod going with Zoysia in Nashville area? Go Vols! Yes, sir, Mark Allen. Advice for new sod. I tell you, if I was in your area, I would call Performance Lawns. A guy named Josh owns that, and he is a great guy. I don't know specifically. I don't even know where to get it in the Nashville area, but I would call Josh. I don't even think Josh does it. He's out of Mount Juliet, but he could probably steer you in the right direction. I don't know. He may do it, but that's Performance Lawns in Wilson County, Mount Juliet area. He's a great guy, and I trust him implicitly. Whoa, where did I go? Okay, here we go. Carlos says, I do sprinklers in Houston, and we use only Rainbird equipment from the parts store. Big box stores don't keep the good stuff. Beware, Rainbird is way behind given the current COVID status. Yowza. Whoa. Potassium chloride instead of sodium chloride in the water softener. Bypass the softener for irrigation, but don't like to spray with hard water. No, I would not, because you're just applying a very, very high salt onto your turf. So definitely do not apply softened water as irrigation to your lawn. You're going to cause mega problems with it, I promise. A-Dog says, go look at GCI's latest on irrigating his Bermuda grass. He didn't pump for low pressure. Oh, interesting. Oh, okay, we're back to that. No need for pumps, just nozzle down and give yourself plenty of buffer zone so you can still run water in the house with it being affected by the sprinkler system. Look at this. This is all great advice here. Roshan Parker says, what's up, dude? How are you, man? What's your thoughts on Zemplar fungicide? Any good? Yes, it's great. It's one of the best out there. Web Education said, what's the best thing for rust? About to apply Daconil, but not sure what to do. Plant stems are turning a deep orange red, then turning yellow and mushy. It's a big plant. First off, that doesn't sound like rust to begin with. And then the second of all, I don't think Daconil is labeled for residential lawns. So normally for rust is what most people apply is propiconazole, usually the easiest thing to apply. It's relatively easy to correct. Normally you can fertilize your way out of rust. So Web Education, I'm telling you right now, I feel like the situation you're in right now is not a rust situation. Trent says, does watering Bermuda after cutting grass during a drought help the health of the plant? It makes sense. You cut flowers underwater. Yes. By all means, keeping it you have to remember when you're cutting the grass, you're actually removing water from the plant. So you have to replace that water that's been sacrificed through actually cutting. And so by all means, the more frequently you're cutting, the greater the water requirements of the turf grass is. Steve Wingate says, just before fall, I would like to remove the tall fescue in my front yard using glyphosate. How long would I have to wait to plant ryegrass? I'm in the DMV. Is that the demilitarized zone? Oh, it's the DMZ of North Korea. My bad. Steve, you can spray and seed at the exact same time. That's how I did it, built a career out of it. So that's exactly what I would recommend. I heard you talk about the Xenar technology on Turf's Up Radio. I'd like to hear more. Yeah, so basically, simply put, this will all be coming out in the email tomorrow, B. Willis. Simply put, it's a way for us to take the peptide technology that we normally infuse into the product and adhere it to the outside of the product. We combine it with a very particular wetting agent, also some manganese and zinc. The overall end result is that comparing it side by side, applying a granular fertilizer with Xenar technology and applying it without Xenar technology, we're seeing higher nutrient levels in the tissue, in the leaf tissue, in the Xenar treated granular fertilizer. So it's a way for us to maximize color. And also because it's distributed on all the prills of the fertilizer, not just a few prills of the fertilizer, to increase the distribution rate, thus increase the performance out of a blended granular fertilizer. Is penoxylin by itself any good? I probably wouldn't apply it any good. It is one of those that it's traditionally been a part of a tank mix, and so I would continue to use it that way. Paul Kohler says, hey, Matt, doing a renovation this fall going with Juicy Eye Turf Type Tall Fescue. Thoughts on reel mowing the new tall fescue while it matures? Max height I can find on a manual reel mower is around 3 inches. If you can do it and you really want to do it, by all means, go for it. I mean, it's up to you how you want to cut it. You can get it there. If you've got a piece of equipment that can reel mow it at 3 inches, by all means, go for it. You can do that. And truly, you can maintain tall fescue at 2 inches. It's doable. It's just going to increase the amount of maintenance is required on it. So just some general ideas there. You can take it below the genetic limit of the plant. So we talk about bent grass at 1/100th of an inch, or 125 thousandths of an inch, or 150 thousandths of an inch. All that is beneath the genetic limit of bent grass. But you match your cultural practices to the height of cut at which you're doing. So at 3 inches, you're still within the genetic limit of the plant. Shouldn't be any issue. You take it to 2, you may want to up your maintenance level a little bit. You want to take it to 1, you're definitely going to have to up your maintenance level. It's going to be a bit of a chore for you at that point. JH says, when would it be safe to spray nutsedge out of newly seeded zoysia? It's 25 days post-germination, not been mowed. If you're using a product like halosulfuron, I'd say you're fine to go ahead and do it now. Halosulfuron, what is the other one? Solero would both be great options for you right now. Look at this. We got Ray and OSU Turfman in here, just slamma-jamma in it. Web Education, what's the best way to mix muriate potash into a liquid to spray on St. Augustine? The burn potential is going to go up pretty high by doing that, so I would never, ever recommend you do that. That's just me personally. But the best way to mix it is just mix it with water. That's the only way to do it. Too early to see grub damage in upstate New York? Could be. It's awfully early, so I doubt you're seeing it. It could be something functioning like a grub, though, or it could be causing at-surface damage. The other thing it could be with the heat wave you're going through, it could be a chinch bug deal. Another thing it could be like sod webworms beginning to make their place in upstate New York. So you're experiencing record heat. You're going to see some weird things. So it's not to say it's not possible. It's just not likely. Mike R says, I'm looking to buy X-Soil. What are the application rates on the lawn and in the garden? Between 10 and 20 pounds per thousand should be spelled out pretty good on the label. Matthew Scorefied says, Shorefied, Pros and cons of all turf-type tall fescue, Kentucky bluegrass in region 5. If my soil test is high in phosphorus, do I still need starter fert? Can I use CX? You can use just CX. No reason to apply phosphorus. You may want to apply just a little bit to ensure uptake is there, and you have plenty that's plant available, especially if you have high pH. If you're in region 5, zone 5, you're pretty far up there, up north. I would ask you this. Do you go through periods of high humidity? If you go through periods of higher humidity, I'm going to say maybe lean towards your Kentucky bluegrass. If you do not go through, really, in zone 5, I think you'd be happier with Kentucky bluegrass. I don't know. I don't have the experience with it. To be honest, I've never even been in zone 5 ever, like even just traveling. I've never been to zone 5, so I'm probably not the best one to advise you there. We use turf-type tall fescue in the transition zone in the south. I feel like this is just psychologically, and there's no scientific basis in this, but if you're in a cooler climate, that Kentucky bluegrass may be more friendly to you. I don't know. I'm just saying. Okay, when you say recently emerged, it can be applied day 1 if desired. I still have zoysia germinating is my concern. Yeah, you should be fine. Most starter ferts are triple equal the same number, 10, 10, 10. There's lots of them out there, and you normally it's just it contains phosphorus is the only thing. Matt, you recommend applying a fungicide for Pythium on Kentucky bluegrass in the transition zone. Can you explain? I thought that Pythium was a rye bentgrass POA annua issue. Am I mistaken? No, I do not. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of Pythium on Kentucky bluegrass. It's possible, but I don't know if I ever recommended applying a Pythium preventative. Now, if you're talking about me stating applying a phosphite on Kentucky bluegrass, well, you're doing that for a systemic acquired response in the plant, a SAR response, SAR response. But I mean, normally you're going to see Pythium on ryegrass, tall fescue, bentgrass, POA, something like that. I have no idea of where I said that or why I said that, but yeah, I don't know. That's not to say too. The other thing too is that just because it doesn't normally attack Kentucky bluegrass doesn't mean it's not going to attack Kentucky bluegrass. It is very possible. Big John's Lawn says, "Stress, hey, good stuff, man. Thank you, sir. Thank you. How soon can quinine chloride be applied for crab?" That's a good question. Ray got you there. As soon as the label says you can. There you go. Last Sunday, I sprayed a new customer's lawn who had every weed in the book, it seemed. I sprayed Sure Power plus quinclorac plus a hint of mesotrione. 1 week later, it was all smoked. Super pleased. That is a nice intense but lethal mix there. Sure Power, quinclorac, mesotrione. Yeah, man, you should be good, and you should be good for a long period of time after that as well. Steve Willie is in the house. Would perennial ryegrass growing in a turf-type tall fescue lawn be causing some of the fescue to not look good? Yes, 100%. Also, your perennial ryegrass is going to check out a hell of a lot faster than your turf-type tall fescue will. So it's twofold there. One, your ryegrass is going to start checking out, and it's going to start making your fescue look bad because it's been contaminated with this damn perennial ryegrass. Then on the second piece of that is, yes, exactly that. When the ryegrass starts to check out because of the heat stress that it's under, that's when the allelopathic nature of ryegrass is going to be at its greatest. Therefore, pulling down in a I'll take you all with me type of scenario, pulling down the tall fescue with it as it goes. Is it possible to control nutsedge by the hand, pulling before it matures? No. No, maybe, but I don't think you would be able to do that in a very feasible sense. Even browned up buffalo grass. Oh, look at that. Somebody was asking the other day about buffalo grass, and I had no idea. I wonder if Sure Power turns out to be pretty effective on buffalo grass. Although Beltran said, which carbon earth fertilizer would you recommend for my Southern California Bermuda? We're averaging 115 degrees. I've been using a variety of brands this year based on my soil test. I would have to see your soil test to make a recommendation for you, to be honest. Throwing a shot at the dark like that is going to be a hard one. Probably the 1648, just because I haven't looked at your soil test. So a crazy amount of rhizomatic activity from my rhizomatous turf-type tall fescue, Mountain View. Had an area with huge bare spots almost entirely fill in. That's what I'm talking about, man. I love everything Mountain View Seeds does. That is for sure. Here in the Pacific Northwest, been overseeing with perennial rye the last several years. Previous owner somehow got Bermuda mixed in, and it just doesn't fit well. Any solution other than digging it up or glyphosate? Yes. So you have two pieces of the puzzle there. Number one, you've got Pilex. Pilex can be used as part of a program to remove it. The second piece of that is you can use fluazifob, Ornamac over the top. Either one of those would be a good fit for you. You can try it, and just remember there's a program involved when doing it. You have to stick to the entirety of the program. I have to work from home now, and I need to upgrade my stream equipment. Can you run down what you use? What green screen? Yeah, pretty easy. So I use an Elgato green screen here. That's what this is, Elgato green screen. My camera is actually my main big camera, which is the Sony A7 III. My soundboard is a Rodecaster soundboard. My mic here is a Rode Procaster. I actually use a Yeti Blue mic stand for it. Mic boom arm over here. That's a Yeti Blue boom arm. And then I use Streamlabs OBS now is the new streaming software I use, and I really like it. I just made the border here and all that in green and white, and over there in a blank space, I did all that in Photoshop. And then I use the widgets to add in like the chat box and then the scrolling stuff down at the bottom. So that was all done kind of after the fact, but that's basically how I stream. The big thing is just make sure you got enough computing power to be able to do it. little tech nerd stuff there. Shout out to the IT guys in the Discord. By the way, if anybody's looking for a show after the show, I'll tell you exactly how to get there and what to do. This is kind of the secret place where, again, you're never going to find me just anywhere hanging around a whole lot. But if you are looking, and probably the best way would be to head over here. And the great thing about the Lawn Discord is that you're going to have access to a lot of turf professionals in there as well. So Ray, like you see in the chat, Oshu Turfman, like you see in the chat, and a host of other people that are here in the chat too also are over at that Discord. So I highly recommend it. It's a good time over there. And so that's a good place to go hang out. This is kind of what do I call it? The armpit of lawn care. And I say that with love. I refer to myself as a Discord dirtbag, so it is what it is. Polo says, I've seen what I think is dollar spot in my lawn. Brown spots had spider webs on it, and some had somewhat small mushrooms on it. Use propiconazole. Do I have to reseed these spots in the fall? No, it should recover if your propiconazole was pretty effective. Now, the other thing, too, is that while you're applying propiconazole, I would go ahead and fertilize it as well. Get down a quarter of a pound in or a half pound in and grow out that damage. G. Michael Jr. says, I'm in Utah. My grass starts going brown as soon as it gets above 85. I've been told the best grass to use is fescue. If not, what's the best heat-tolerant grass? Thanks for the assistance. If you're in Utah and you've got the ability to grow cool season grass, then tall fescue probably is going to be your most heat-tolerant variety of cool season grass. Chase Smith says, can you apply Sedgehammer in 95 plus on St. Augustine? Yes. Matt Miller, dealing with a lot of weeds at the new house, including Dallas grass, doveweed, and crabgrass. Is it viable to apply a pre-emergent at this time of year while I deal with the weeds? Central Florida, St. Augustine. Yes, absolutely. Let me see here. Man, look at this. We got the guys in here laying down some information. Where am I? When I mow my Bermuda, why is the top of the plant lighter the day after? I'm not exceeding the 1/3 rule, and it's a darker green right after the mow, but gets lighter the next day. Is it water loss? Yes, it is. It is likely due to water loss, unless you are not very sharp too. You could be ripping it up. What other carbon air product besides 818 is greens grade? That's the only one that we have released right now that is greens grade. We do a lot of custom stuff that's greens grade, but as far as what we carry as like a floor stock type product, that's going to be the only one. Marshall Hugh says, I think that I have a slug problem in my lawn and I don't have any grubs. Can slugs eat the roots? The sections are lime green, very shallow roots, and the soil is slimy. What do you think it is? I don't think there are slugs. Probably what I would think it is it could be nematodes. Could be causing what you're describing there. So what I would do is take a sample, send it to your local extension office, and just confirm what exactly it is. Especially if it is nematodes, finding out exactly what kind of nematodes they are so you can help develop a treatment solution for it, if indeed you do need to treat for it. In some instances, you don't even need to. What would be the best way to go from common Bermuda to Arden 15 Bermuda? Probably sprigging it would be the best way. Sprigging or sodding would be the best way. Hey, Matt, you and Green Doc mentioned a tank mix for the greenest centipede with ammonium sulfate, T-Nex, and iron. Can you give the rate? I'm using high yield iron. Yeah, and just a thing here, Kendall Jackson, is that it may have been the way for me to have the greenest centipede, but I'm telling you right now, I ended up killing my centipede doing that. So don't do that. So I'm telling you, that was a way I killed it. Do not be doing that and sort of chasing some magic dark green with it. But keep going with your normal fertility program at your current. Look, Ray's saying right here, that recipe is to burn out centipede. Potassium plus iron if you want a healthy centipede. You're exactly right. Steve, Willie, what are you doing, man? Thank you, sir. By the way, thank you for the text earlier today. I literally snorted water out of my nose when I read that. That was hilarious, Steve. Let's see. When using Pilex to get rid of Bermuda and tall fescue, will I have to apply several applications this year and next year? Yes. You'll have to apply that program. There's a program. I've done several videos on it. There's a program, and you're going to have to run that program every fall for at least 3 to 4 years. What are the best cultivars, Kentucky bluegrass, do you know, and where is the best place to purchase? I have no idea, but I can tell you where to find them. You can go to ntep.org, ntep.org, find an area that's closest to you and look at their Kentucky bluegrass trials and make the determination which one performed best in an area closest to yours. Then what I would do is call that seed manufacturer. I would look up that variety, call that seed manufacturer, and ask who the distributor in your region is. Then go to that distributor and purchase that seed. That's how I did it for years. What is the best weed killer to use around ornamentals? It depends on the weed, of course. I can't ever recommend a weed control to use around an ornamental until I understand what weed it is you're trying to kill. Kevin says, what is the easiest way to identify dollar spot or brown patch before it gets out of control? It's typically you look at the lesions. You want to look at the lesions. The two lesions look completely, to an untrained eye, they may look similar, but the lesions are different. Study the lesions. Take it with you. Use Google Lens, whatever the case may be. But the lesions have your answers. Is there a minimum pallet order for carbon earth products for pros? Yes. South Carolina now from Augusta Altman, I'd say you're over near Aiken. South Carolina is probably where I guess you are, and that's my old stomping grounds. If you send me an email to the website, I can help you out with that and give you some more information. Richard Nettles, Arden 15 is Pennington's seed variety, not a hybrid. It's the upgrade to Princess 77. Good information. Quick explanation on electrode storage solution for a pH meter. I always thought that is, what do you call it? Deionized water. I'm guessing. I don't know. Is that? I don't do the testing at the lab for us. We let the people with brains do that, because when they go in there and they start calibrating, you know, they're using like cyanide and all kinds of different stuff to calibrate that damn thing, and it freaks me out. So I thought it was deionized water, but I could be a damn liar too. I don't know. Ecubed, I do not know. Greg, aspen spray tenacity to kill bentgrass now or wait until the fall? Here's the reality of the situation is, I don't think you can spray all the tenacity you want. You can go ahead and spray it now. By all means, if it's still growing, get out there, get after it. I just don't think you're going to be happy with it. You will be happy glyphosating it out, but you're not going to be happy spraying tenacity. So I'll let you go after it and try it and report back which way works. You're going to feel really good about it, and you're going to feel great that you killed it. And then next year, you're going to slam your face into the steering wheel at 100 miles an hour because you're so upset that it came back about as strong as it died. So just my experience with it. And Paul was on last week and he was talking about his experience with it, and he said it came back even stronger after his tenacity application. So that was just kind of what we just deduced talking about it. When to switch from light water cycles to deep for seeded zoysia has not been mowed. Some new germination is still happening. If you're still germinating, then no reason to go ahead and start stressing it. Some new wild plants are spreading and tagging down. So you're gonna have to be a judgment call as you begin to start to fill in and you start to see some lateral movement to it. That's when you can start to stress it a little bit to get it to deepen that root system. But if you're still in that period, what'd you say you were 35 days in or something like that? I wouldn't be trying to get anything silly with it now. You can go ahead and try it. You know, if you want to run it for a day and run it for an hour at a time or something like that, and then check and give it 24 hours and see what you need to do, you can do that as well too. It's just I wouldn't let it go completely dried out right now is kind of where I stand on the situation. Timmy Bluegrass says, should I worry about using propiconazole on new Kentucky bluegrass seed that I want to push while its growth regulating properties hurt Kentucky bluegrass's ability to spread? It's a great question that I do not know the answer to. Let me see. There's Ray. Propiconazole is good to promote the spread of Kentucky bluegrass. So there's your answer, good sir. Polo Field says, since I have small spots of dollar spot, you said I can fertilize. Is it okay to apply 818 when the temps is upper 90s and the heat index is 100? Some parts of my lawn is non-irrigated. If it's not irrigated, then it's not going to release. It's not going to do anything for you applying a granular fertilizer. You can apply a foliar fertilizer, but if you don't have any water to move throughout the plant, then it's not going to do anything for you either. So it's going to be contingent upon you being able to water your lawn, or whether that come from rain or whatever the case may be. It is all contingent upon water. If you do not have water and you're running into a dry spell, there's no point in applying fertilizer of any form. Orion Meddling says they use DI water when calibrating their pH meters. There you go. Deionized water. Doing a full reno in my front yard. How long can I expect the grass to be seed ready? Huh? Can expect the grass to be seed ready. I don't understand what you're asking me there. I really don't. I'm trying to wrap my brain around it there, but I think maybe you're saying is how long after seeding will the grass be ready? Maybe something like that. I don't know what you're asking me. The reality of the situation is this: when you seed it, you know, you don't put a time frame on it. You know, when you're doing this renovation, just when it looks like it needs to be cut, go ahead and cut it. It doesn't matter if it's been 1 week. It doesn't matter if it's been 6 weeks. Just cut it if it looks like it needs it. Don't be too nervous about it. Your chances are, if you get it to the point of needing to be cut, you're not really going to run into any issues. The most important thing, again, is just keeping it watered. Any input on Lesco Carbon Pro liquid? Yeah, it's just humic acid. And there may be a little bit of something else in it. I can't speak a whole lot about it. Who was it that asked me that? Ned. I can't speak a whole lot about it because Lesco or Site 1 sued us because our fertilizer was Carbon X Pro, and they said Carbon X Pro violated their Carbon Pro, what do you call it? Trademark, and so they actually sued us. So I probably shouldn't even be talking about it right now, but at the end of the day, I honestly don't care. But if you look at it, it's a very tricky way. Let me do this. Lesco Carbon Pro Liquid. Let me pull up the label right here. This is a very tricky way of labeling humic acid. And of course, they don't have the label online. Let me pull up the SDS and see if they have it in the SDS, but chances are they probably not. I have looked at this before, and I can tell you right now that primarily what it is linardite that's been through a potassium hydroxide extraction, which gives you humic acid, and then they add a little bit of other things to it. So they add some biology to it, like some bacillus strains or something like that. So, you know, I don't know where they get their bacteria from, but there's several different bacteria producers that are out there. And then I think they add a little bit of iron and a little bit of kelp to it. So basically, it's like any other humic and kelp product that's out there on the market, except it's got a little bit of a bacteria load. The problem is that depending on where you are in the country, your bacteria load, say if you're in Florida, it may only last a month. It may only last 2 months. Say if you're in the northern part of the Midwest, it may last 2 years. It may last 4 years. So there's a lot of variability there, and that's why personally I don't use just a significant amount of live biology unless I understand the specs behind it. Yes, here we go. No, they don't list it on the spec sheet, but okay. Microbial metabolites, those are going to be the bacteria that I was talking about. Chelated iron, humic, a nutrient transport technology, which is, that is a code name for fulvic acids, right? And kelp extract. So humic and fulvic acid, which basically any humic product is also going to contain fulvic. So it's humic acid, a little bit of iron, a little bit of bacteria, and a little bit of kelp. How about that? Come in and get me. Let's go. I had a soil test done, and I've got low phosphorus levels but high potassium. Clemson recommends super triple phosphate. Is there a carbon earth product to do something similar? Yes. X-Start would be your product. It's an 824-4, so perfect for you. Low in potassium, high in phosphorus. B. Willis says, my next neighbor has a lot of torpedo grass and a centipede. Can I stop from coming into my common Bermuda? Yeah, you can use quinclorac. So you just understand if you get quinclorac on that centipede, you are ultimately going to kill it as well. Paul Predden says, I have a lot of wild violet in my yard, and I'm currently doing a full reno. If I rototill the wild violet, can it come back even if I rip it to shreds? 100% yes. Yes, yes, yes. Those wild violets do not care in the slightest about your tiller. I tell you that right now. What I would recommend is going ahead and doing an application of Sure Power. Sure Power this time of year is probably going to be your best bet. Okay, I have reached the end of the questions. I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. I sure do appreciate you. I'll be back next Sunday at 9 p.m., same damn time, same damn place. What do y'all think of the new setup? Do y'all like this or do you not? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know in the chat.